tired now to care where he went.
Cable, but he couldn't stop himself and slithered into a ditch. Ooh!
Get me out! Oh, Whale Percy, help! A coupling was broken. Enough! Oh, oh, oh! Fact, and shut his eyes. The house rocked. Broken glass tinkled. Percy.
Boxes and bags burst everywhere. Oh! Groaned Percy. No trouble lay ahead.
And lifted it off and away into the valley below. Gordon, but it was too late. A diesel bumped the truck so hard that the loads went every China clay. He banged the trucks hard into the buffers, but the buffers weren't secure. The silly trucks and applied the brakes. The rails were now like... The driver braked hard. Toby stopped. Then there was trouble. But it was too late. The twins left the quarry just in time. But it was too late. Whenever they did anything that Duke thought wrong, and often came off the rails. The search ended. Lee. Falcon was derailed and hung dangerously over the edge. They surged into Sir Handel and pushed him off the rails. A deal of trouble. I roared the trucks. Peter Sam shut his eyes. It was too late. He boasted. Trouble. But it was too late. Now there'll be trouble. And now. And Cranky banged his load too far. But it was too late. And he was. He veered out of control and the fat controller landed in a muddy ditch close to where Thomas was taking on water. Bother, bother. Too late. Move. N. Trouble. Couldn't stop. We're still toll sidings, straight into a muddy pool. But he was wrong. The trucks plunged into the ravine. Skarloey and his driver heard the noise and looked up. When the snow plume cleared, there was... But it was too late. He went off the rails at Bulgy's Bridge. Dropped the pipes onto the tracks instead of the trucks. Whoops! Oh no! He cried. Oops. Must be careful. Then there was trouble. Ned hadn't lowered his crane arm far enough. It knocked loose the important keystones. The bridge started to crumble. Jack couldn't hold the bridge any longer. Are you all right, Jack? Hit the water tower. Luckily, no one was hurt. Look out, he shouted, but it was too late. He saw something. Suddenly, another building at the old mine sank into the ground. Scared, he lurched forward and rammed the truck. Buckled. Oh, help, Gordon cried as he slid off the tracks. Percy found himself under the chute, and coal dust flew everywhere. Oh no, coughed Percy, I'm filthy. And he took off, blowing cinders and ashes everywhere. Percy! Yuck! He groaned. I've never been there. Help! He yelled. Glug, 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 he said. It was too late. As the rocks began to fall, but Fergus was covered in rocks right up to his funnel. The barge crashed through a pipe. James was sure he'd get covered in sludge, but he was so busy watching the windmill sails that he forgot to look where he was going. Stormy night, the old windmill was struck by lightning. Yes! There is! That could have been a little smoother. Oliver felt some faulty points sent his trucks one way, and Thomas onto the old pier rail. The trucks were delighted. He's fallen in the water. But it was too late. The statue flew through the air and landed in the lake. And it came down right in front of Skarloey.
Loose and wrapped around his firebox, going as fast as he could. But it wasn't fast enough. The apples were all smashed.
He had used up all his coal. Driver looked out. The old wooden bridge was starting to cut, but the cracks in the support were getting larger. A beam snapped. Timber pieces splashed into the water below. "Help!" whistled Duncan. "I'm going to fall!" Bridge just in time. Thomas raced into the yard. Percy was coming the other way. Thomas bumped straight into Percy and the bunting flew up in the air. Percy's trucks came off the big puff and blew. Bertie skidded all over the road. "Percy!" he cried. Snowball got bigger and bigger. Percy was enjoying himself until he saw the snowball. "Oh no!" cried Percy. Luckily, no one was hurt, but his driver was crossed over, Thomas said to himself. And it soon was. Luckily, no one was hurt. But Thomas felt sadder than ever. "Late engine, Emily, the late engine," they sang. This made Emily very cross, and she biffed them very hard. "Oh no," they cried, and splashed into the duck pond. Emily was covered in a flowery spray as hard as he could. But the fish trucks were too heavy. "Oops," said Thomas. "Sorry." Salty was covered in fish. "To hurry," puffed Thomas. He heaved, he huffed, and he puffed, and at last the coupling broke. Thomas shot forward. Cocoa powder flew everywhere. It was just around the corner. Then there was trouble. Thomas clipped the telegraph pole and they all came off the tracks. Luckily, no one was hurt. "Cinders and ashes," Thomas cried. And he didn't see the goods train ahead until it was too late. Luckily, no one was hurt, but Gordon came off the rails. He was covered in gooey red jam. Suddenly, Neville saw a barrier on the track. He slammed on his brakes, but it was too late. Neville was in terrible trouble. But suddenly there was a terrible noise. As the dust cleared, Emily saw what had happened. But it was too late. "Bust my buffers!" cried James.
Thomas biffed the freight cars out of the way and rolled up under the chute himself. When Thomas puffed out the other side, he was covered from dome to buffer in pure white flour.
So Thomas wasn't taking care. He biffed the truck very hard and the door came loose. But Thomas didn't see. But soon Sir Handel came to another hill. His pistons popped, his traction rods rattled, and his boiler bubbled and bounced. His pistons popped, and his traction rods rattled. Inside the carriage, the picnic hamper, the flatbed bumped into the air, the bell tumbled off the flatbed and rolled down the hill. Clang, clang, boing went the bell as it fell and Edward was approaching a signal. He was thinking about Rocky, and he was going too fast. Suddenly, the signal changed to red. Edward screeched to a stop, but the sides of the trucks collapsed. Steel pipes toppled all over the tracks. "Bust my buffers," puffed Edward. He looked at the heavy pipe. Then they heard Gordon. He was going fast. Then there was trouble. Gordon hit the pipes with a loud crunch. He came off the tracks. It was a terrible mess. He couldn't wait to show the children his fancy dress. Then there was trouble. The bubbles blew into his eyes. Thomas couldn't see where he was going, and he bumped straight into the back of Toby. Toby's axle was broken. "Sorry," puffed Thomas. Thomas puffed into the sidings and biffed into the buffers. Sticky toffee splattered everywhere. "Oh no," moaned Thomas. "I can't give the children train rides when I'm this messy." The signal turned red. James applied his brakes and screeched to a halt. But Edward couldn't stop in time. "Sorry," puffed Edward. "I didn't have time to stop." "Don't worry," moaned James. "It was my fault for pushing in." Skarloey's flatbed biffed into the sidings and came off the track.